roadrunners. And if you've ever seen a live roadrunner stalking prey, you can kind of see the similarity between them.
Do their feet actually spin?
They are, yeah. Beep beep my no. But you see the stalking behavior, and there are similarities in bird behavior and reptile behavior. So I think they're using the chicken as a one. They're easy to find. It's a good research animal, but they're also in that lineage. And as somebody mentioned junk genes, that's kind of what I'm afraid of, because what we call junk genes, they're beginning to realize that maybe these aren't junk genes. They do have functions.
They do.
We've just either evolved past them or they're dormant. What if they bring one of these things back and it activates what they're calling junk genes and creates opens it up to allow some kind of microbe to co-evolve. Oh, look at the cute dinosaur. Oh, it also brought this, earth-destroying plague with it.
Right.
So I don't think we ought to be, not in a nutshell, I don't think we ought to be doing that until we actually understand and reclassify what they call junk genes.
I'm just imagining.
Just because we don't have the map and we don't know the function right now, or what were these genes doing? Nature tends to conserve, and if you find something like that, it has a purpose. Just we haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
I'm just imagining they get to do these experiments, and then they create a raptor, but it has the mind of a chicken. It's sits in the ground.
Go to KFC and order one.
Hey, Markham.
Can you imagine T-Rex laying an egg?
Yeah, boy.
Hey,
What an
Markham.
omelet. Yes.
You said that that they wouldn't be able to adapt or be able to live in this environment the way it is with the air.
They were going to...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I go ahead. I thought this... Hang on. Go ahead.
Okay. Seeing as how they would be created, wouldn't they adapt to the new environment or how the air is now?
Well, they're going to have to. They're going to have to. They're going to have to consider that. When they they would not be able to. There was a class years ago I took, and it was like, how could Godzilla exist? No. Because there's actually functional limits on how big a creature can be due to gravity. You get to a point where the bone density, the musculature, the structure of the creature goes beyond what the planet can, what the environment can support. It would have to, there's actually, it's almost like a Dawes limit on how big an animal can be. Now, with the buoyancy of the ocean is why whales, they evolve in water. There's some support for their bodies. What happens when a 80-foot blue whale beaches itself? It dies because the gravity, its lungs can't function. The weight of the creature itself destroys the creature when it's out of its environment. So, yeah, they might be able to make velociraptors that are turkey size, which for the most part, I think, with the exception, I think it was the Utah raptor or something like that was discovered up to that point. Spielberg was taking great liberties at making these velociraptors man-size. I don't think any of the ones were much bigger than an ostrich, if that, up until they found Utah raptor.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're too big.
So, okay.
Yes.
So has our gravity actually gone that high up since the dinosaurs existed?
Okay, it's not so much that the gravity, but the climate and the oxygen content. The oxygen content was higher during the Triassic and Jurassic eras, and that enabled that limit to be exceeded, our modern limit to be exceeded. In today's 21% oxygen atmosphere, those gigantic brachiosaurs and stuff could not, they could not exist. They would die and kind of collapse under their own weight.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking of the famed Supersaurus. As far as I know, there's only one bone ever found of it, but so the normal Brachiosaurus hip bone, side hip bone, is only about 2 feet long, and this one's 8.
Oh, that was I believe they called that one the Seismosaurus, because it would have actually made the ground shake when it walked. It was, it's like one bone and its leg was taller than a human. If I remember the picture I saw, there's a average-sized man standing next to it, and the bone's taller than the man. That creature, there's not enough oxygen in the atmosphere to allow that thing to exist in modern times.
Okay.
I can't pull it off the top of my head what the actual what they think the oxygen content was, but the atmosphere was much denser and supported these humongous creatures.
That bone is actually in my hometown.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's in Drumheller, Alberta. I've stood beside it many times.
Well, was that Seismosaurus or was that there was one they call Albertosaurus, and I can't keep the names are in my head, but I'm not sure if I remember.
So it was originally Seismosaurus. They had changed it about 20 years ago to Supersaurus.
A Supersaurus.
And
yes.
The Albertosaurus, that is a 4-legged creature.
Okay.
And the Albertosaurus is like the T-Rex. So there's 3 classifications of those type, and that's the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Edmontonsaurus, and the Albertosaurus. So, and they're all pretty much the same animal, but different sizes. And the Albertosaurus is about 2/3 the size of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. But supposedly, according to what, I can't remember his name now, his first name's Phil. He's a paleontologist at the Tyrrell Museum in Drumheller. He said the Albertosaurus was more fearsome and more ferocious than the T-Rex. Because when you saw them jump, like when do you remember in Jurassic Park when the T-Rex actually jumped up and attacked?
Right.
He wouldn't have been able to do that. That would have been an Albertosaurus that could do that.
Well, they also think that, they're looking at those non-functional vestigial front limbs on a T-Rex, and just the way the body of a T-Rex is made. If it ever tripped or fell chasing prey, it would have snapped its neck. They're kind of starting to look at T-Rex like it might have just been a big scavenger, or it would have only attacked the extremely weak. It wouldn't have been this fearsome uber predator like it's shown in the movies.
Right.
Yeah.
They also did some research where they took the nasal cap. They took, I think it was that skull that was there's a skull they found out west. It was the most complete T-Rex skull they ever found. They think it was a female. They think the males were smaller, the females were bigger, and they made a 3D model of it. And instead of roaring like the T-Rex on Jurassic Park, they think it might have just kind of squeaked more like a bird.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like the one in Jurassic Park that spit the venom and had the fan-looking things that came out of his head.
Oh, Dilophosaurus.
There you go.
They've actually found specimens of those. Hey, man, I'll be right back. I got to take care of business here for a second.
All righty, Gary, let's get to your question.
Well, my question is, with Antarctica, melting, breaking up, could that cause plagues to break out worldwide? Because we don't know what's underneath Antarctica.
And you know what? I think that's a good possibility, because there's so many hidden, and as things warm up, things break up, microbes wake up, you don't know. And then they hit, wind currents, they could easily blow around. So I think it's a good possibility.
Well, I just
watched that X-Files episode.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah, and that was a good X-Files episode too. But again, Chris Carter got a lot of information from the FBI before he created the X-Files, and that's where a lot of that stuff is based on some kind of grain of truth. So, but honestly, I think there's off-worlders under the ice. I think there's microbes under the ice. I think there's all kinds of stuff that's coming out, with the Earth warming up.
Well, our immune system probably would not be able to handle it. That is simple as that. I mean, just look at the different strains of flu. How many people in the United States die a year? So as the ice, melts, it's bringing up, the permafrost. It's bringing up the bog and all this stuff. We don't know, because our body isn't, it's not immune to something that, could be there. This is common sense tells you that whatever is there, our body would not be immune to it. We haven't built up.
Notice every year the flu gets worse, and the flu shot
does
not help.
I had the flu shot for senior citizens. I'm a senior citizen.
It's mandatory.
Well, it didn't work for me. I being a senior citizen, the doctor talked me into it. I got sick for 2 days after the shot, and I'm like on number 9 day being with the flu. I went to the doctor, and he goes, "Oh, you got the flu?" And I said, "Yeah, but why did I bother getting the flu shot?"
Well, it could have been worse.
Right. So,
yeah.
Did you hear his point, Markham?
Well, I know.
Antarctica?
Well, yeah, and we only have to look into our own history in the continental United States. What happened when the Spanish explorers, the Europeans, came to the New World? What did they leave in their path? It was called the Black Swath, because as they were encountering these native peoples, they were giving them old world diseases that their immune systems couldn't cope with. The Spanish explorers left a wake of death and destruction behind themselves because they were, and some of it was just passive. Of course, I think they also introduced a couple old world venereal diseases into the mix, but you don't have to go far to find examples of what happens when a new microbe encounters a population that isn't grown up with it. We don't have any immunity, so we're liable to pull something out of the ice in Antarctica that wipes, 3/4 of the population out. There's going to be those people that have, or their immune system does develop some kind of immunity, but it's not a given.
Right.
And what do you think the odds are of that happening in the next 10, 20, 30 years? We're about ready for a major plague anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're overdue for the Yellowstone caldera. We're overdue for we're actually due for a mass extinction event if you look at the fossil record.
that's scary by itself.